Hello, welcome back, part 7. Let's nip in here and do the warp zone. This is a reasonably small area, the origins of which were around the mini games which we've already seen. One of the first experiments with this zone was the long corridor that forms around you that was part of the green light video, and the path to the kind of nebulous nod. And I had a lot of ideas for this zone. It was going to be quite a bit bigger, and it was going to be more in the main flow than just being on this hub section. But I kind of looked at this as an opportunity to do something like the sort of red coins in, you know, the 3D Mario's, a way to do the traditional platforming presented in a slightly different way, and really just completely break and bend the rules of everything that I'd set up from the environmental point of view. You know, everything floats, anything can happen in here from a, you know, kind of movement or positional point of view, and it allowed me to, you know, really make some good fun levels. Took all of it out pretty much. These kind of 6 sort of rooms are the last of it really, and I think I was right to do that, particularly looking at some of the critical feedback about how difficult some of the platforming is. I've obviously put in a few hundred hours, you know, while developing, so for me this is a good fun challenge. Still die here occasionally. I'll die now, I've said that about 100 times. But for most players to Lumo, they'll have got here after maybe 2 or 3 hours play. Now these rooms on the side aren't advertised, they're sort of secret. You only have to come in here for the coins if you want to be completionist. So yeah, no, the average player will be here for, you know, 3 or 4 hours. That's not a lot of practice with my controls, or really being in the isometric viewpoint if you've not grown up with these games. It does make this stuff incredibly hardcore and probably on the verge of frustration. So I was glad I've kind of removed it all, but I'm sad at the same time, because you'd be surprised how much of a challenge you can create with this stuff. You know, it's just running and jumping. It's nothing more complicated than basic Mario, but it's still good fun. And it's really interesting to sort of explore, but too hardcore for Lumo. Would be nice maybe to do a Lost Levels thing, maybe one day. Oh, here we go. The other thing that really appealed to me about this is all a lot of stuff that the earlier games just never did, or at least I can't remember a lot of instances of it. So it was good to sort of feel like I was doing some new stuff. This room's blatantly nicked out of Zelda. I think going back doing the development diary, I did this in December 2013, and this room was just hanging out on the side for ages, had nowhere to go. It was a long time before I decided to actually, yeah, okay, we'll make a little warp zone section. Oops, nearly got killed there. Kinda wish I'd done more still. I really enjoyed this zone, but it probably would have just wiped everyone out. So anyway, you only really need to come here and do this bit and get the keys, so there's nothing too challenging for this room. You can skip everything else, which is all the hardcore stuff, particularly if you're doing the speedrunners. Unless you're going for 100%, there's not much point going for these bits and bobs. The other thing this zone does is it will wrap up the kind of environmental storytelling that I've been doing. When I did introduce the ghosts, the idea was to have them be a kind of ever-present aspect of the rooms. So anything that was kind of like a switch or time-based kind of thing where you're unlocking or setting up things in the room, the ghosts were going to pop along after a period of time, and they were just going to, you know, reset things or change the room. I did a few of that. I pulled away from it for a couple of reasons though. Doing the cutscenes was massively time consuming, disgustingly so. Not so bad doing the bespoke animations and stuff, but the rest of it was just like a real drag. But also the game was difficult enough, you know, you really didn't need the pressure of this rising tide coming behind you. It would have just been too frustrating, so I pulled all of that stuff out as well. But I did still have the ghosts in the world, and I do And as a massive Ghostbusters fan, it does seem like the only sensible way. Oh, he dies. It does seem like the only sensible way to get rid of the ghosts is to have some full-on Ghostbusters punnage, which is what we're about to get to. Ghostbusters was one of the only VHS vids I had as a kid. I must have watched it about 100 times. So I could probably quote most of the film back to you. So I've done a few Ghostbusters jokes already. Let's do the warp zone first, actually. Right, I'll leave the bounder, the hard one, till last. Let's go and do the Marble Madness bit. Without dying on here. I was never a massive fan of Marble Madness in the arcade, but I adored how it looked. And the minute I started making an isometric game, it was too good an opportunity not to have a go. So all of the rolling ball stuff we've had up till now is really just training for this. And in this section, the ball's a bit faster and the ball's a bit lighter, so you're a little bit more nimble. And this was great fun to make. Really, really enjoyed messing around with this and doing the design. I've made it in a really bad way, technically, or at least from the art side. There's loads of geometry in it that doesn't need to be. But don't look at that, don't tell me that. Obviously the controls are reversed, which is, you know, game design 101, don't do this, but I still think it's quite fun in this scenario. Here we go. Don't actually need to get this one. And the other one that we've just passed was a bit of a red herring as well. You don't need to get that one. Come on. Now you can do these two in one, but I'm too scared to do it, so I won't. The achievement on this one's a little bit tricky, it's really tight. I can do it with keyboard without much problem, but on the D-pad it's, I think I've only done it 4 or 5 times. It's a proper challenge. There we go. So for this, you just want to be right bang in the middle. Run at it. You'll be fine. You'll just wobble over these bits. There we go. This is the complicated one. This is where you want to be careful. Look at your shadow. There we go. Loads of time. Spin Dizzy was the one that I used to play the most, and it was so frustrating. Never really played the Marble Madness arcade that much though. Although I was impressed the first time I saw it, it had this massive trackball on the front. Kind of crazy control scheme, it was good fun. So this puts us back up in the trapdoor. We've already collected the stuff up here. So there's a little bit of backtracking around here, but it's purely just to get the trapdoor joking, because I used to watch the cartoon all the time. There's old Burke with his big googly eyes. So you have to be careful and do that first, because if you complete the next bit, you'll be locked out of this zone and you can't get back in there. So the order is sort of important. So yeah, let's do some ghost busting. So this again, it's just one of those jokes that's just too good not to do. I'd already built up the ghost busting line up to here, so I had to do a kind of PacMan thing. So this is the PacMan Maze. And I kind of actually went further with that as well, because the ghosts, the colours of them They all match the AI from the actual PacMan arcade, but what I didn't do is I didn't emulate the 8-bit overflow bugs for the movement. Without getting too technical, some of the ways that they calculate where they're going to go and which paths they're going to take rely on 8-bit numbers rolling over in the registers. Now I didn't do that, but I did do everything else for the ghosts. They're exactly the same kind of code as in the arcade, but even just removing that 8-bit overflow stuff completely changes how they react on the map. So when you look at it, they do behave completely differently from the arcade, but they're close enough that it kind of does the same thing. The logic's actually not too difficult for PacMan. It's on the web, you can Google it. I had really good fun. Took about, I don't know, maybe a week or so to do this. So it's kind of like a whole game within a game. And it was just really nice, you know, emulating the AI and making a little fun challenge out of it. So interesting in lesson in how just even small code changes can completely change AI. And worth looking as well if you're just, you know, starting to make games. Check out what they do for PacMan. The movement system's really, really clever, incredibly simple. So it takes no time at all to kind of knock it up. Whoa, I'm going to die. Now there used to be a trick on this. Diagonal movement used to be faster on keyboard than it was on joypad, so you can kind of run around these diagonals and outrun the ghosts. But in the end I kind of normalised the two control systems so they were the same. Come here. Got ya. Which makes the ghosts a little bit more tricky to catch now. So now the ghosts are removed from the cauldron. They're also removed from the world. Like I say, didn't really... Hang on, did I get a cassette? Double check. Didn't really do as much with the ghosts as I originally planned. But as I've kind of discussed, there was so much environmental challenge anyway. I didn't really need the NPCs to make the game in the end. So, 2 teleporters here. You want to pick the left one. The right hand one just takes you out and locks the zone. The left hand one takes you to a secret room. And there's the old Ghostbusters fire station. My friend took that photo when they were in New York, which I stole off of their Facebook page, so apologies. Now you know where your photo's being used. And there we go, we're back. That's the last of the warp zone section's done. We've got one section left to do in the game.